So what's supposed to happen in our brain is we basically collect short-term memories as we go. Like right now I'm creating a short-term memory making this video, and that's collected in our prefrontal cortex, right? And this other part of our brain that's essentially associated with creating memories is called the hippocampus. The hippocampus takes like the short-term memories and laces them all together, kind of loops them all together to create the long-term memories. When we black out by binge drinking, we basically go from creating memories to literally no memory whatsoever. Permanently, it's gone. There's actually a barrier that comes in that prevents our neurotransmitters from basically firing and wiring and connecting the dots more or less to create those memories. It's actually like a wall. What causes blacking out is actually binge drinking. And according to the drug abuse statistics of 2022, it's almost a third of the population that drinks reported that they have binge drank in the last 30 days. 40% of all college students reported that they have been blacked out at least once, in their words. If anybody understands college in the United States, I think that we can all safely assume that number is much higher. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there and say probably high school students, if anybody was like me. I don't know how many concerts I went to where I was stoked. I remember walking up the stairs, I'd paid like $150 for, and then like remember like 3 songs and then blackout. The number of times blacking out. Why is no one talking about it? But it's super, super, super common. I was that girl who would party. I was the bartender at the best bar in school. I would bring the shots. You know, it's not like I was blacking out all the time. I would be able to control it. I started drinking when I was 13. You know, my whole family drank, all my friends drank, and still do drink. And now I don't drink at all. I remember before I started drinking, before I was 13, my memory being pretty damn good. And then when I was 13 to 25, 26 is when my memories, like, I didn't know it at the time, but pretty much sucked. And then now that I'm 2.5, 3 years separated from drinking, way stronger memory. And I'm not the only one who says that. Everybody else who I know who's decided to stop drinking also agrees that their memory is just like crisp. There's 2 really important factors in terms of memory, like later in our life. It's dementia and Alzheimer's, or Alzheimer's. I don't know how you say it, but Alzheimer's is where you literally lose your memory completely. The overconsumption of alcohol is found to increase the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease by about 300%. 300%. And they're finding that 300% increase comes from drinking alcohol and heavy drinking, like binge drinking. According to the BMJ, there is a 17% increase in risk of developing dementia. Dementia is super, super sketchy because that basically deteriorates your memory, but it also deteriorates your personality. You know, I hate to say this, but like dementia is kind of like what it sounds like. You get kind of demented with it. 17% is a huge number. I have people in my family that I've literally watched be normal people drinking socially. I would drink with them. People I grew up with that I've actually seen develop dementia. And they were the heavy drinkers. And they were the people that actually were the people that would black out. I'm not saying that anybody that drinks and blacks out, you're destined for this. No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying that firsthand I've seen this go down for the long term. I want to say that I really don't have any judgment whatsoever for people who drink and understand, you know, that they have a lifestyle that they choose to live for themselves. I am certainly not that person who is able to judge anybody, but I am definitely out here because I do think that the society that we live in way over normalizes drinking alcohol and way overemphasizes its importance in our lives. There's so much content out there about why alcohol is going to bring, you know, good stuff to our lives, and the bonding and the friendship and the, you know, connection, and how it's kind of like a rite of passage when we turn 21, and it's like something that adults do and all this stuff. But what we're not getting is the negative, in the same way that people would like bash on pot before it became legal in a lot of states, in the same way that the media and advertising like totally, rightfully so, paints meth in this damaging light. How people do that with heroin and all this stuff. But for some reason, alcohol is seen as this like, it's okay thing to do. And for anybody who maybe blacks out, right, or maybe has a drinking problem or becomes an alcoholic, that person is the problem. And they're the ones who should be like, kind of like, ooh, yeah, they have a problem, that kind of thing. Ask me this when I was 25, when I stopped drinking. or even, 20 or 18 or 13 when I started, I would have never said any of this stuff. We all have kind of been fooled by the advertisers and the people out there who get us to consume it, to think that we're actually gaining something from it. Every single day, 261 Americans, as it says, is reported, die as a result of excessive alcohol use, which is wild. Alcohol actually causes apparently 10% of the deaths among kids that are like 15 years old and older. So that is wild, 10%. I remember going through school, high school, going through college, really struggling with this concept of blacking out, because at least once a month, I would black out by accident. So the third thing I wanted to talk about in terms of blacking out is why, even though it's so common, no one's actually talking about it. So unless somebody straight up called me out and they were like, you blacked out last night, like I would lie and say I didn't. There were times when I couldn't lie. Like it was just so obvious that it wasn't like I could hide it. You don't even want to hear the crap that you did. You don't want to know who you offended. You don't want to admit basically to people that you lost control. We don't want people to perceive of us as having a drinking problem. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of embarrassment. There's a lot of hiding it. On the flip side of this though, I was just talking to somebody about it. I think a lot of guys actually will sit there and be like, oh yeah, man, I totally blacked out last night. Like I don't remember anything. It's almost like a joke. That's another thing too, is like, I think people don't really talk about it kind of in the reverse because it's normal. When that's like kind of intertwined into our lives, into like what we do and, what our friends talk about, it becomes like this normal thing almost to black out. My experience is that I saw myself slowly kind of going down this path of like, not good. One of the main reasons why I finally decided to stop drinking was I really had, a massive experience where I watched my mother completely fall apart and fall into like the grips of alcoholism. And it didn't just like happen overnight from one time. It was years and years and years of binge drinking and casually drinking and drinking wine with the girls and drinking with the family and stuff like that. It all added up to this point to where everything kind of came to a head, and like her business was under like a lawsuit. She went to alcohol to cope with it. And it at that point, like she was already bad, but at that point she totally lost control. I believe that if we had exposure to seeing that there's actual happy people out there who, I don't feel like I'm missing out. I don't have any willpower against drinking. I've completely changed my mindset on what alcohol does for my life from what it used to be. And I have plenty of videos on this as well if you guys want to check those out. Now I get to live a life where I'm so, so happy and I don't miss it. I don't feel like I'm missing out, and I feel actually totally free. Guys, I really appreciate you watching this. Again, if you like this, please like it so we can help other people see it and get this out for people out there who need exposure. There's a lot of people who have no one around them who doesn't drink, and they're at a crossroads right now. If you like this kind of stuff, go ahead and subscribe down below. If you have anything to add, any context, if you want to communicate like kind of what your peers around you say about blacking out or don't say, pop it down below. And I'm going to have my next video coming out pretty soon here about the second reason why I decided to stop drinking. I look forward to getting that out there soon, guys. I appreciate it as always, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.